Alright guys, so let's have some fun today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compare three high quality mini monitors to one another. Coincidentally, they all come from Danish manufacturers. Now the whole point of this video is to go over the pros and cons of each design and to tell you all what situations they work well with and what situations they don't work well with. And the whole goal is that by the end of this video, you should have a better idea as to which product is best for you. Now before we begin, I need to lay down some important caveats. Starting with the first, there are going to be no sound clips in this video because if that's what you're here for, then I just saved you a little bit of time, no need to watch further. Number two, this is not a contest. There's not going to be a winner here because all three of these speakers are good and all three have distinct pros and cons. And then lastly, I'm not going to go over details like specifications or anything like that. Instead, I'll have that down in the description box below for your convenience. Instead, I'm going to focus strictly on the performance. So to begin, let's take a look at the contenders, so to speak. To our left, we have the Dynaudio Evoke 10s. These retail for $1,600 US a pair. In the center, we have the Bucart Audio S400s. Now, I know it looks like these are into signature cabinets. These are actually Polish cabinets with stock crossover components. These retail for, well, they did retail for $1,800 a pair, but now the price has been raised up to $1,950 US a pair, making them the most expensive of the bunch. And then over here we have the System Audio Legend SA5s, which retail for $1,800 a pair. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, let's start off with the System Audios and go over their general strengths and weaknesses and what they work well with and what they don't. So compared to all three of these speakers, the System Audios actually have some advantages. Number one, they have the most lively and the most dynamic sound of the group. So if you're somebody who wants that more forward presentation, you like a lot of treble information, and you like a very dynamic sound, then the System Audios are likely going to be your favorite, especially if you listen at low volumes, because one of the problems with the Dynaudios and the Bucarts is that they need just a little bit of volume in order to liven up, whereas the System Audios sound really good even at quiet volumes. That's one of the benefits of the voicing. One of the downsides with that voicing, however, is that it can make the mid-range sound thin, and the treble presentation is going to be, I think, too much output for some people. So if you're sensitive to a lot of top end, then the System Audios definitely aren't going to be for you. Now, another huge advantage that the System Audios have is that unlike the Bucarts and the Dynaudios, the System Audio speakers actually work well against wall boundaries, which is kind of the point behind a compact monitor. I mean, it's for people who don't really have a lot of space to work with. And these speakers are voiced in a way to where you can put them directly against a wall. You're not going to get too much bloat down low. And in fact, the power handling output of these speakers is very good. I mean, you could fill a big room with a lot of sound. No, it's not going to deliver room-shaking bass. I mean, it's not going to replace a subwoofer, that's for sure. But if you have a big room to fill, you're tight on space, and you like a clean, dynamic sound, System Audios are going to be a good way to go. In a smaller room, you could get away with, I'd say, 15 to 30 watts per channel of tube power, as long as you don't listen that loud. For most people, you want to be at a good 50 to 60 watts of solid state power. And if you're in a big room, I would say 100 watts or more is where you're going to want to be. Now let's move over to the Bucart Audio S400s. So of the group, these are going to be the largest speakers, and unsurprisingly, they're going to give you the biggest overall sound. In fact, that's really the main calling card of the S400, is that it's one of the few mini monitors out there that can replicate the sound of a floor standing speaker, at least from the mid-range on up. And that's due to the density of the sound. It's just very full. It has a very meaty, warm presentation. The top end of the three speakers is going to be the smoothest and most forgiving of poor recordings. And overall, this is the jack of all trade speaker. So if this is for somebody who basically says, hey, look, I listen to a wide variety of music. I don't really want to add a subwoofer. I just want something that's going to sound good with pretty much everything that I throw its way. Sonically speaking, I think the Bucarts are there. They have really good tone, but there's going to be some problems with them. I mean, number one, these speakers like their power, so they're not going to sound that good with low power tube amplifiers because unlike the System Audios, you need to give them a bit of juice in order for them to sound alive. They can sound pretty dead at whisper quiet volumes. And then number two, these speakers like room to breathe. So they sound best when you can pull them out a good 3 to 4 feet away from any wall boundary, which kind of goes against the whole point of a compact mini monitor, but again, that's where they're going to sound their best. You can put them against a wall, but you're going to get a lot of bass output, and they may need to be EQ'd, whether it's via an analog EQ or a digital EQ. But otherwise, I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people like them, and that's because they deliver a full, big presentation. There's warmth, there's smoothness there. Let's see, any other things worth mentioning? Oh yeah, the waveguide. So the waveguide, inherently this speaker has a very smooth sound. But if you're in a very reflective room or you just get the equipment synergy wrong, then the waveguide may draw attention to itself, resulting in a slightly beamy sound. So just something to be aware of. And lastly, we have the Dynaudio Evoke 10s. So the Evoke 10s, make no mistake, they're a small speaker that sounds like a small speaker. This isn't something that's trying to sound bigger than what it is. However, what this is something that's more about quality over quantity. So compared to the other two, the Dynaudios are going to have the best driver integration. I mean, they've really knocked it out the park. I mean, when you sit back and you listen to them, you can't really tell where the tweeter and the woofer cross off at. Unlike the other two, to where if you listen closely enough, you'll be able to tell. I would say that tonally speaking, the Dynaudios may be the most natural sounding of the group. That's a bit of a subjective statement, but I feel like they have this balance between, say, what you would get with System Audio and Buccardt. The top end, for example, is going to be more expressive than what you get with Buccardt, but it's not going to be as aggressive as what you get with System Audio. The mid-range is going to have some warmth to it, but it's not going to be as big or as warm sounding as Buccardt, nor is it going to be as lean as System Audio. So it's going to be kind of like that in-between of both speakers, only its power handling is going to be limited. It is a dynamic speaker, not as dynamic as the System Audios, but it's just going to be something that's more, again, about quality over quantity. It can be placed next to a wall boundary. It comes with ports. Granted, that's going to significantly reduce its bass output, but it can sound good next to a wall boundary, although it does sound best when you can pull them a good 2 to 3 feet away from any wall. Anyways, guys, that's about it. So let's summarize here real quick. The System Audios. Lively, dynamic, slightly thin sounding, work well against the wall. They can fill a big room up with a lot of sound. No, you're not going to get tons of bass output. They will sound their size, but again, you can get a lot of output power from them. Again, that lively nature though, some people are going to love it, some people won't. The Buccardt Audio S400 is probably the best all-arounders of the group. They have a very meaty, warm presentation. The top end, if you get it done right or set up right, supposed to be very smooth sounding. But, you know, they need the room to breathe. They need decent power, and they're a little bit particular about setup. And then we have the Evoke 10 small speakers that sound every bit their size, but they have really good driver integration, really good tone, and something that's going to be for somebody who doesn't need to jam out. They just want something for like their bedroom or study or living room or whatever. Anyways, guys, that's going to be my take on how these speakers stack up. This is my first time giving this a try, so let me know if there's anything else that you would like for me to touch on in future videos. Otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and until next time, peace.